Okay, hey, we're back. Black Flag Media. Been
Freedom.
a long
It's
time.
been a long time.
Freedom. But, you know, we've been out there working, so it's
We
not
had
like
a lot in between.
We say that every time.
Yes, there was a lot between.
We say that every time. No, we're just working.
But
we'll
do more
Derek's
regularly.
been up on his live streams. I've done some, and as some of you know, that my live streams weren't working, but we were in Ottawa, and of course, Daisy Media and Right Blend did a lot of work down there, and I, as I said in my live stream, I was very honored to work with them. It was my privilege, really, to work with them and get those things out, because we did, you know, they were doing a lot of hard-hitting, tough questions to Mark Miller, Marco Mendicino, Christopher Freeland, and who was Jagmeet Singh. So we had some pretty good action there in Ottawa. I ran into Jennifer O'Connell twice and said, "So Jennifer, what do you think? Saying boo-hoo, get over it is a way to unite Canadians?" And of course, they're all the Liberals and NDP just stone face us. And although Jennifer did give a little bit of a smirk. Oh, I just noticed. Have a look. Theylied.ca.
Right up above.
Maybe some of you saw one of our colleagues. We won't even name him at this point. Maybe, do you think?
No,
we'll
but
leave
it was
him out of his name.
It was last Friday. Basically accosted or attacked by two black bloc, I would presume. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure looked like it.
Down
When
in
you're
Toronto.
wearing a black, what looks like woolen balaclava in the middle of summer at a gathering, that's pretty serious business.
Yeah.
So that individual I spoke to afterwards, a day or so afterwards, and he told me that the guy in the black balaclava tried to steal his banner. So which said theylied.ca, and he went running after it, and then there was a kerfuffle, and then a second person jumped on him, and they had a tussle, and then this individual, unnamed, had got the better of them, and up he pops, and with Rebel News standing there, David Menzies, and says, theylied.ca. It was funny, but like awesome. Way to go.
Exactly.
One day I'll say your name. And, while I was talking about stuff going on, of course we have Black Flag. And Derek, you're not really in the frame here
okay.
too
I'm moving.
much. Yeah,
You're
you're going to
better.
have to get a little closer. So I'm wearing this Unvax shirt that I had my friend and fellow patriot, hi, I will leave her name out for now because I don't know. And so I've asked her to make this t-shirt that said Unvax. So this is her design, and so we've got this shirt. It's a little bit big. It's a large on me, and it's really long. But anyway, it looks cool, and I've asked her that if she could put on either theylied.ca on the sleeve or on the back or something. But I think I haven't worn it out in public yet.
No.
I might get tussled.
Good
I might have to do okay.
Just make sure we have some people around for sure.
I'm gonna have the bodyguards, so we'll see. But I really like it, and no doubt that if you guys like this T-shirt and any other ones, we can probably get you one or whatever. We'll figure that out. But I'm wearing that today, unvaxxed, and just to state my status, or whatever they called it. So today, unless we have something other preamble, but today we have gathered today to talk about Bill
C-293.
C-293. This is one heck of a scary bill. And I said on my live stream that when I first read it, so you open the pages and there's this little summary. And the first bit of the summary says, this enactment enacts the pandemic prevention. How do they prevent a pandemic? I'm not really sure, but whatever. And Preparedness Act to require the Minister of Health to establish, in consultation with other ministers, at this point unnamed, a pandemic prevention and preparedness plan. So when I first read Minister of Health,
that's what I call
I just pretty much puked. Like seriously. If any of you don't know who our Minister of Health is, you should check him out. It's Mark Holland. And if he's going to be the guy in charge of our health in that
Who's not a medical doctor, by
He's
the way.
not a medical doctor.
Or a doctorate of anything.
Or no doctors. I don't know. He might be able to spell the word.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so believe it or not, this is only 10 pages long, this bill.
Yeah, it's very small.
Very short. 25% the size of Bill C-293. But
Which is another thing.
they're enacting a law to make the health minister come up with a plan. This is what they've done. So they made a law to make sure the health minister came up with a plan. So you go through our criminal code and you go through our books of laws, everything's very defined, right? We know what a murder is, we know what a theft is. But this is a law just to make him do. And basically...
Make him like the main guy, the only guy, the one guy that... He may have helpers and he has to have minister of this, do that, but he's the guy in Canada. And at this point is Mark Holland, which is what's scary the hell. That's, first of all, scary. But it gives him totalitarian...
Yeah, basically does. So the most important part of the act, and there's some examples that I'll give you, we read through, and I can kind of give you how to interpret it. But if you read through, so they're going to amend the Health Act. This bill is going to be...
Oh, you're going right to the...
Right to the end.
At the end and
yes,
going forward.
because the most important thing is so.
Okay.
So for the purpose of coordinating the activities under the Pandemic Prevention and Preparedness Act, the minister shall appoint a national pandemic prevention and preparedness coordinator from among the officials of the Public Health Agency of Canada and delegate and coordinate the powers of duties and functions to that minister who considers appropriate. The reason why I read this in the end, this last piece, and why that is so important. So this is going to be another elected bureaucrat that's going to be put in charge of our health. So yet another person, just like Mark Carney, just like the World Economic Forum, just like boom, boom, boom.
Teresa Tam.
All of these people are unelected, and they're going to have basically what that describes is a health czar.
Yes.
So this health czar will...
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We've got a health czar.
Will, and their word would be final. So again, someone unelected that's going to be affecting your lives.
So from Public Health Agency of Canada, a coordinator will be appointed by the Minister of Health. So that's an amendment to the Department of Health Act,
So
right
that's going
there.
to change it right there.
And so the whole thing is frightening. And so...
Well, the other thing too is it doesn't really define what a pandemic is.
No, it doesn't define
Is it 5 cases of one thing, 3 cases of one thing?
Yeah.
It's what he deems. Or it also says, whereas One Health, and One Health alludes to basically you can read through the bill, and basically where he's going to get his for lack of a better term, data or whatever, is basically from the World Health Organization, which is the UN. So that's...
Well, they definitely talk about the World Health Organization down a couple of pages. But the one thing that first kind of freaked me out, the Minister of Health, even being like the greatest person, that's one person. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. But then it says here at the first part, it says, whereas the costs of prevention and preparedness measures are insignificant in comparison to the human and economic costs of a pandemic. Well, that sounds like, you're doing a high school paper or something. But to me, it reads, they're saying whatever it costs, that's just open. Like whatever it costs is way more better. We better put that money out than the cost of the actual pandemic. So they're just opening the purses up for whatever they deem is necessary.
Well, how about this as a cost? Well, we can't eat chickens anymore.
What's that?
One cost could be, we got to get rid of the chickens.
Oh yeah, they talk about all the animals.
So
that's
why this bill is so vague. When you read it, it's vague for a reason. It's meant
definitely.
to be vague.
They don't define what a pandemic is, and they talk about the risk to prevent the risk and prepare for disease outbreaks, but they don't define any of these terms or with the parameters of these terms. We don't have that. They say to identify the key drivers of pandemic risk and describe how Canadian activities. Okay, what's a Canadian activity? Hockey?
Anything.
I don't know. Domestic and abroad contribute to this. They're so broad.
Farming,
it's ridiculous.
gardening, anything, yeah.
They can provide for training programs. So this purse that they've said, hey, no matter what we spend, like we've got to spend all that money because it's better we spend all that money than, have a problem afterwards. They do talk about what you're saying about the, they have the ministry, the Minister of Industry has to come along in the manufacturing of vaccines, testing equipment, personal protective equipment. All of this is listed here. I would suggest, it's not really long, so it doesn't take much.
You can just download it. It's a quick and easy.
Yeah, the Minister of Agriculture is involved to reduce the risk posed by antimicrobial resistance. They're talking about commercial activities. And in agriculture, they're talking about, here's the good one. Promote commercial activities that can help reduce pandemic risk, including the production of alternative proteins, and phase out commercial activities that disproportionately contribute to pandemic risk, including activities that involve high-risk species. So that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so they're going to have us eating the crickets.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, this is actually very important to read this particular section. I want everyone to read because as we go through, because it says commercial activities. So commercial activities, when it comes to food, that's your farmer's market, okay, including industrial animal culture. Well, that's your farms. That's your dairy farms. So they're going to be able to autocratically shut these things down. They
could shut down your whole farm, and
Correct.
They could allocate your land as being a risk and take your land. Really, that's what they're opening this up.
That's what they're opening up for. Now, the other thing too is he has rights under the Minister of Health, and it says borders, but it's not defined just borders. Okay, so he can border an area off. Okay, so from food in or out or anything. So the reason why they say borders is because there's that. It could be the border around Toronto, it could be a border around any city. But let's put it into this.
Where are you reading the borders part?
It's highlighted in your under there. If you read under the agriculture thing.
Oh, okay.
So the agriculture can talk to the Minister of Transport. Do that. So the reason why I bring this up is just think of this situation. So suppose a mad cow break out in Alberta, but maybe it's only 5 cows. Okay, so the Minister of Health would say, "Oh, that's a pandemic, so I'm allowed to border." So he could basically border around Alberta and cut those farmers off from selling their beef.
Yeah.
So these are the autocratic powers that they have, and because they just say pandemic, but the pandemic is basically on unelected officials' view of what is a pandemic. Right? And this whole bill is redundant in the first place because we've had a pandemic, but have we had an official review from the floor? I know we had the NCI, but the federal government still has not had a proper review of COVID to define. So this is just pure creating another czar and just creating more and more lines of authority.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Now you mentioned the World Health Organization, and it it's not just implied; it's written in this act. So it says, set out in consultation with relevant ministers a summary of key cooperative measures or agreements on disease outbreak, prevention, and preparedness between the Government of Canada, other foreign governments, and key international organizations, including the World Health Organization, the United Nations Environment Program, the World Organization for Animal Health, and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. It's right there. Like, they're not hiding this.
No, they're not hiding it. And if you look at this week, so there was meetings, the UN had meetings from Monday to Wednesday of this week. And If you listen to the clips, they're already talking about one government role. You've heard that many times.
Yeah.
No, it's no coincidence either that there's a bill similar to this down in the States that was in the process of being completed at the start of this week as well. This particular bill is somewhere around the second reading in the Senate. So it's on the final reading in the Senate. That's all that it says. We don't know what happened last week, if it was partially read. Maybe some of the senators weren't there. The thing was slowed.
What does it say? No activity. Is
No,
that what they said?
that's basically it says right.
So
no
they
activity
say.
on it right
So
now.
so talking about that, they say. Not they say, but it's documented. So this sorry, I'm just trying to get my notes here. Here it is. So this reading, this act was read in the House June 17th of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as we know, June 17th is pretty much at the end of the session until they break for summer.
Correct.
So they push this through right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look back on the calendar, which I may do and add to later. But we know June 17th at the end of the session. Yep. And then the second reading is February 8th of 2023. I'd have to again look at the calendar. It could have been whatever going on there. And then there's a reporting stage, and then the third reading is June 5th, 2024.
Yeah.
Well, we were in Ottawa during that time, and we know that's again at the end of a session.
Yeah.
Zips through the third reading. And then this is the tricky part, or the really bizarre part. So the third reading was June 5th, 2024, and then June 5th, is that what I said? June 5th. And then the first reading in the Senate was June 6th, the next day. It goes right to the Senate. And so they've had their first reading, and as you were saying, September 17th, while we were in Ottawa this last time, there was supposed to be the second reading. But according to the website, there's no activity on the 17th. We don't know. Did they get scared? Because there were people out there. Mm-hmm. Thank you to Lisa. We'll mention you again, Lisa. But Lisa Morin, who is a lawyer who has brought this up and made people more aware of it. And I'm going to put a link to this to her. Well, she has a Substack, but there's a Rumble podcast that she talks about about this thing. And
I have the link on my Facebook page too, so you can see them.
So the things that she's talking about as well is in this whole thing, they're not talking about any labs. We're not talking about any labs or gain of function. No conflict of interest with the pharmaceutical companies and NGOs. They're not talking about anything like that, nor are they talking about diplomatic immunity. It's just this carte blanche. Oh, the Minister of Health has this carte blanche to set up a bureaucracy with whatever money, because hey, we can't spend enough money, because what could happen if we don't could be devastating. So we get to spend all this money, and basically we're linked with the WHO, and Bob's your uncle.
The biggest thing is he gets to determine what's considered a pandemic.
Oh yeah, well, basically we lose our sovereignty anyway. So who's going to declare that as WHO and the UN?
Right.
So it looks to me like Canada's just handing it over, and the Minister of Health has some kind of way to go, guys, job. Nothing. He just gets to set up the bureaucracy that controls us. Here's your testing. Here's your shots. Can't say that, although I read that word. And here's the thing. Put this up on YouTube, which I will be doing. You can't say certain words.
No.
We're censored like crazy.
Exactly.
And we've talked about Bill C-293 a couple of times before, but that's still on the books. When I feel this fairly often, but today I felt it a lot because I was preparing for this. The overwhelming feeling of these bombardments, and I know we talk about this often, that we are in a war and we have to be prepared by the fact that we are going to get bombarded, but. They just keep coming after us. Bill C-63, Bill C-93.
Of course, it's all by design.
And we can't keep up with it.
No.
And we try. We do try. And that's what I was saying on my live stream the other day. You know, I'm so grateful that there's other people out there doing what they can do and what they do, because it's a lot. You know, if you take it on, sometimes it feels like, oh man, because you're only one person and there's so much. But here's another one, Bill C-293. And you know what else I learned today was this bill. I don't know if I mentioned it at the top, but I'm repeating myself. But this bill was, it's a private member's bill that was sponsored by Nathalia Erskine Smith, who's my MP. So I phoned his office, both his Toronto office here and his Ottawa office, and there was no answer. But to ask about, you know, what's happened to the second reading, and just like, hey, what the heck's going on with this thing? But I didn't get an answer.
Oh, I don't know if he's a very vocal vegan.
Yes.
Not that
There's another article I'll put in this. This person named Charles or something has written about this as like being the vegan bill.
Well, that's what I was kind of alluding to. So I don't know if culling mass amounts of animals is animal cruelty or not. You're going to cull them. I guess the vegans are happy that they cull them, but we still don't get to eat them, but they're still dead anyway. So I don't understand that logic. If they want to call it a vegan bill, but you're culling mass amounts of animals potential.
Yes.
The H1, the bird flu potentially. So the Minister of Health can wipe out all the bird population.
Yeah. Oh, and the Minister of Environment, who's Stephen Guilbeault, he's mentioned, not by name, of course, because it's whoever the minister is. But we've got another hugely radical minister, Stephen Guilbeault, who would be then in charge of certain things, and he's a crazy radical.
Well, he is, and especially if you go to the environment one, it does mention that they want to return some lands for reforestation. So this they call it reforestation or greening, but I remember going back to when I went to the Liberal convention a year ago, and they were talking about greening, and what they mean by that is basically they can take some farmer fields over, or tell the farmers you're going to have to take 25% of your allotment and plant trees on it because we want to regreen. But mind you, don't look at us burning all the forests down. But
yeah. Well, that's another thing.
That's another thing.
Like
so
they're holding him.
So you tell me how that has any relation to a pandemic bill, but that's potentially what could happen in there as well, right? So
it's a huge control. It's hugely tyrannical bill that they're putting forward. And I wanted to mention this. You know, you brought up the NCI, which if you haven't watched the NCI, watch some of it, watch bits, go to the live. They have a good section on the NCI. You can watch all of it, or they have links to like here a few of them that you can watch. So the NCI was this National Citizens Inquiry into the COVID response, and it's not a government one. Here it is. So here's one of the considerations they write. Considerations. Oh, here's a real laugh. They need to take into account the best scientific information available. Mm-hmm. Well, when did they ever do that? Hello?
Well,
not.
In their opinion. That's the problem.
Yeah. Dr.
The scientific
Tam, what's
method
your
doesn't
opinion?
exist. Yeah.
Well, let me do a Mrs. Claus thing. I don't know. So that's B. C is leverage international expertise. Okay, I don't think they did any of that. But here's my big question. D, take into account the recommendations made by the advisory committee following its review of the response to the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic in Canada. When did we have an advisory committee following its review of the response? Has this happened?
No, I don't believe they have, but I believe what they're kind of referring to is what Dr. Tam did.
Oh, did she do something?
She did something on her own, basically. So I think she made herself just the committee.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So. Well, I'm going to have to find out about that. There's some MPs we might have to ask that question. I'd like to know, what is this? What is this advisory committee following its review of the response to the coronavirus disease. What review did they do? Where is this review? I'd like to see it. You know, the NCI is like this big all across the country with all sorts of people talking about it, and Canada has done a review and we don't know about it, or I don't anyway.
Well, what I just find gross is this past. There's a lot of lawyers that are MPs or ex-lawyers.
Yes.
That they would even let this go, because you're like.
How did they let this go?
You're creating a law to give somebody the power to be an autocrat and go against what's actually written in the Bill of Rights and the Charter and the Charter. How would they even let that go? And like Dr. Martin Luther King said, just because it's a law doesn't make it just.
Yeah.
So this is to put that in is it's just incredibly
I think
ridiculous.
we need to talk to a few MPs, and excuse me, before going to the show, I didn't manage to see who voted for it, who talked against it, who voted against it. I don't know. So
we can find that. That's
but we can
researchable.
find that out. Maybe update you later or whatever. Just but did they even do any pushback on this?
No,
I don't see any.
No,
but I don't know. I don't know enough from that, but we thought we'd at least bring this to everybody's attention. Bill C-293, it's slated perhaps, for a second reading in the Senate. It may have been read and they're just not showing it, we don't know. But, hey, again, write your senator, write your MPs, whatever you guys, we can do. But it just seems like we're just being rolled over all the time. It doesn't, there's Bill C-63. I know that the Conservatives are opposing that, and we can talk about this another time, but they've tabled their own sort of in response to that, Bill C-63. Bill C-63, sorry, the online harms bill. There is pushback, and, they just, like I say, they just keep rolling. I feel like I'm just being rolled over all the time.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, if they put this through, and then the World Health Organization, next thing you know, we're going to be, cattled up and put masks on us and shut up, and who knows. So, I don't know. And I don't even know where we could run to, because the whole world's falling apart. So that's what I got to say.
It is, but it's coming to the point where we make our stand. So
yeah, we may have to make our stand. I'll just keep wearing this shirt until such time. Just keep making your shirts. I don't know.
It is, although it doesn't seem like it is, but it is. There's a lot more people.
Yeah, there are.
There are a lot more people.
And that's why, I think it is important to walk around wearing our gear like this when you're in the mood, too, because sometimes I'm just not in the mood. Because, you're either going to trigger people, or you're going to have confrontation, or you're going to just have conversation that you just maybe not in the mood. You just want to go buy your groceries, Like, I don't always wear stuff around in public, but it is important when you're in the mood to do so, to wear your stuff and wear your hats and do all that, gear up your cars, just to get people, talking, and that they're not alone, and, everything. So, anyway.
Yeah. Gotta switch to more advocacy than everything.
Yeah. So is that it for 293?
That's it for 293.
Yeah.
Lots out there. Dr. Tossi's talking about it. Laura Lisa, as you mentioned.
Lisa Moran. Yeah, lawyer Lisa. Lawyer Lisa is talking about it.
Dr. Sam. Also
Sam
on my
Bouvet.
Facebook, I gave you the sites to his Rumble.
Yeah.
His Rumble page as well.
Yeah. So all right, everybody.
Spread it around.
Yeah.
As much as you can.
Freedom. I'll see you guys later. Okay. See ya.